I'm really pleased to have Elliot Daly, one of the bright new stars of England Rugby, with me today for the latest Killik Rugby interview. Just talking about centres at the moment. So let's talk about JJ and also Luther Burrell. How do you think they went?
I think they went really well. I think with George Ford at 10, he just pulls those strings, and especially with JJ playing with him at Bath, I think they just had that connection, and it looked like Fordy was just trying to get the ball to JJ as much as possible, and I think Luther did well in the middle, crashing it up and setting that platform for the likes of JJ and maybe Anthony Watson to get into the line and cause some problems. I think they went really well. Would
you continue with those two going into the World Cup, or do you think there's other guys coming through who should be playing? And the other guys I'm thinking about are Brad Barrett, Manu Tuilagi in particular, possibly yourself.
It's hard with the sort of Brad Barrett, and because Brad, I think, was going to be I think he got injured against us actually, so I think he was going to get drafted into the team for, I think it was the Scotland game, but unfortunately got injured, and Manu's been injured at the moment, so it's hard to sort of look outside the two that have played already, really, with sort of those two being injured, but they'll be coming back and coming back strong. So I at the moment, I think it's hard to sort of look outside Luther and JJ at the moment, just because they had a good Six Nations and they're probably the two in-form centres at the moment. So yeah, it's a difficult one, really.
So just continuing along the theme of centres, you know, you've played for the Saxons, you played alongside Sam Burgess. Do you think there's an opportunity for him to get in?
I think, yeah, definitely there is. I think he's one of those players who sort of brings, from the rugby league aspect, he brings that other sort of vision to the game, and some of the things near the breakdown he's very good at. And when I played with him at Saxons especially, I thought he was a really good player. He gave me that sort of insight I've maybe haven't had in my career so far. Just it's a different voice and a different thing, and especially around camp at the moment in the England camp, he'll probably be offering up different sort of scenarios. But I think at the moment, he obviously just wants to get games under his belt and try and get as many as possible and try and get some form, and hopefully he'll push into that squad.
And do you think the World Cup's come too quickly for him?
I don't know. I think it's a hard one, really, isn't it? I would hate to be a coach, but I think at the moment there's two centres in Carl Eastman and JJ at Bath at the moment who I think played really well this season. I think Carl's been unlucky in the Six Nations not to get a run out, but I mean, if he breaks into that Bath squad and gets into the first team on a regular basis and gets some wins under his belt and gets playing well, then there's always a chance. You
mentioned when you were playing in the Saxons about Sam Burgess bringing sort of a different view, a different take on the game. Can you give examples of that?
Yeah, I think it's similar with Carl Eastman. I think when I played with him at Saxons, we sat down in backs meetings, and I think he just sees things a little bit differently, where from a new sort of point of view, and he was commenting on the moves we were doing. Were we wasting people? Were we using everybody to their sort of fullest? And in rugby league, it's all about sort of someone going short, someone at the back, and stuff like that. And he, as a 12, he really wanted that outside him, so he wanted me to sort of organise that, and it did work against Ireland, and we won in quite a tough game.
Is it just a case of bringing different players in at different times, you know, knowing when to do X or Y or Z?
Yeah, I think so. He obviously, coming from a league background, they love that short ball and a guy at the back and running at pace and a bit deeper, so he brought that in and wanted to run that. He wanted to be the playmaker in that, so we made that happen, and as I said, against Ireland, it really worked.
Have you sort of adopted any of that going back to your club?
Yeah, I think you always pick up things from people, and I think today we were running some moves at Wasps, and we sat down and we were like, are we wasting people here? Are we using everybody to their fullest? Should we run a short runner here? Should we do that? It's always in your mind, stuff like that, and you got to learn from everyone, and especially Sam, coming from a different background of that, it's really good to learn from.
What Wasps players have been overlooked by England then, or by their country, and should be playing?
I think one of them is probably Christian Wade. He just makes things happen, and I think a lot of people have talked about his defence. I've never really seen him miss a tackle. He might get bumped off, but he'll go back again and make sure he makes it. He's just that X factor where you give him the ball and he'll make something out of nothing. Like in that Saracens game, I think I went down the wing, I was like, I know, just pass it to him, he'll make something happen, and he chipped it over, went past 2 people and scored. So I've played with him for the last sort of 4 years, and it's, you know, if you just chuck the ball out there as a 13, he'll catch it and he'll make something happen.
Anyone else?
Especially this season, I think Joe Simpson, I think he's had an awesome season. He's quality for us, he makes things happen, he controls the game really well, he's got a really good kicking game. But there's so many good nines in the country at the moment that he's struggling to break through. But I mean, when he played for the Saxons, he came on for sort of 15 minutes, and I think he made a difference in that game and just sort of made things happen. We scored a couple of tries at the end. So yeah, he's been really good this season, and I think probably those 2 have been overlooked so far.
Thinking about the World Cup now, so England have somebody's just announced that there's going to be a 45-man squad going into the first training camp. Do you think you're going to be in it?
Well, you hope so. Like it's one of those things. It's as you said, there's so many good centres in the Premiership at the moment, and it's, if you're a young English at the moment, you really want to get into that squad, and the only way I'm going to sort of get into that squad is keep performing for Wasps, and hopefully that will push my case forward, and hopefully something I'll get into that squad, which will be amazing. But that will only come by playing well for Wasps. So if I can do that, then hopefully there's a chance.